Hey guys, welcome. Auryn here with Shane from the FirstBlood team here in the Boston HQ. We're here today just to chat about the new PUBG patch notes, have a bit of fun with it, basically read through. We've got Shane with us so that we can talk about what's changed, how it's going to impact the competitive scene. I'll try and give a bit of an insight onto how it's going to impact the TO scene, how it's going to make our events smoother. And we've got Andy on the TV back here, basically just running through so we can get some kind of live examples of what we're doing. Shane, thanks for coming in on late notice.
My pleasure.
Good to have you here. So to start with, we might just do a quick read through of the first part of the patch notes, just because what they focused on is really interesting. So yeah, well, let's kick that off. So they basically started out, hey everyone, PGI has come and gone, and while we're thrilled with how our first ever World Tournament went off, we're also happy to be able to dive back into the normal schedule and implement some key changes. Today's improvements are the first step in a recommitment to improving the quality of life, fixing bugs and making PUBG the best game it can be. We'll talk more about that next week. For now, thank you all for supporting PGI, and be sure to read on for what's coming up in patch 19. So the big thing that I thought was really interesting is the focus on kind of quality of life and fixing bugs. There's no additional cosmetics, no additional guns, no additional items. Everything's about just making the gameplay better.
Yes, I haven't been this excited about a patch in a long time, maybe since like the release of Sandhawk, but overall it's just going to make it so much better for the player base, for everyone in general. But right off the start, the bullet penetration system, which it gave me the biggest headache before. Whenever you have a player running out in the open and you shoot them multiple times and you think you're hitting the chest shots, but it's hitting the forearm or even the hand, which if you do that, the damage reduction is absurd in my opinion. And now it's going to penetrate through and hit the chest, and it's going to apply the chest damage. And so that is probably my favorite part of the patch.
So let's talk about that a bit more. So in previous versions, if I'm sitting there holding my gun in front of my chest, you shoot me, hit me in the hand, then you get damage from hitting the hand, not from hitting the chest.
Yep, and it was like 5% or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a very small amount, and it would take it to where like it would take 6 bullets or more sometimes to kill someone, and you'd hit him in the hand. And even in the forearm. Is that a
realistic scenario to hit someone in the hand 6 times?
In game,
like a really small target.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes you just get that unlucky, and you probably wouldn't hit him 6 times in the hand. But I have had it to where like you shoot a person, and you're like, how is this guy still alive? And then you go back and watch the replay, and it's like hand shot, forearm, hand shot, and that's just beyond annoying. And now the guy's going to be dead after 3 hand shots. And they also changed it to where the hands don't have a hitbox at all. So if you're laying down prone and you shoot at the hand and it's going to go through and hit nothing else, then it does no damage whatsoever, which I think is really nice. Because, I mean, you're not going to kill someone shooting him in the hand anyways. But, like, we might be able to see it right here. If he were to shoot through the forearm and it goes into the chest, then it's going to deal the chest damage and hopefully kill the person. Just right here.
Well, let's not kill him, because then we got to jump into it again.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Is that going to differ based on the guns? I mean, assuming kind of a real life example, a 9mm maybe isn't going to make it all the way through, but other rounds would. Is that, or are we just kind of across the board here?
They haven't released it in the patch notes, but I do know that in the past it's 7.6 bullets do more bullet penetration than 5.5, and 5.5 does more than 9mm. And so I do assume that they're going to continue on with that. And like if you see that he has a 9mm in his hand, that won't penetrate as much, but if you were to shoot with an AK and it's a 7.6 bullet, then that's going to shred straight through his forearm right into the chest. And then shotguns as well, they have the arm/hand penetration is disabled for shotguns, which I personally like, because if they didn't do that, that would be a huge buff for shotguns. But I don't know, overall, I that's probably my favorite difference. But yeah, I'd say the AK having 7.6 bullet penetration is going to be the best.
Totally unrelated, I got to give a quick shout out to our CEO Joe, being our first Prime sub ever. We literally just put through the all of the partnership stuff last night. So I guess the sub button must be enabled because Joe just used it. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, so let's keep going on through here through the gameplay section. Maybe we can pull up the patch. Take it straight back to our screen. No audio at all? All right, cool. Apparently we have no audio on the patch notes, so we're going to scratch that. Andy's going to navigate the patch notes for us up here on screen. Anyway, so next section, what have we got here? Oh, the sprint key.
Yes, and this isn't the biggest change. It's more of a quality of life thing. Sometimes before this patch, whenever you would exit a vehicle, you would immediately hit the sprint key and you'd try to be sprinting. But when you actually exit the vehicle, your guy's just kind of a light jog. And so now they changed it to where if you're holding down that sprint key when you exit the vehicle, you're actually going to be sprinting, and you don't have to release the key and press it back down. Again, a small update, but that's what this patch is all about. It's a lot of small changes, some really big. But a lot of small ones that are just going to improve the quality of life for the players.
Yeah, just make gameplay feel more fluid, smoother. There's less of that. All right, apparently we've got audio on patch notes now. And yes, Snooze, a watermelon shirt. Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, there's those kind of little tiny things that don't respond, I guess, how you expect they would, you know.
Exactly.
You would expect anytime you're holding down the shift key that you should be sprinting. And so if you jump out of a car and you're not sprinting, that fraction of a second can be the difference between you being alive or dead.
Yep, and it's happened before to me, so it 100% it's going to be a nice update. And this is all it's live on the test servers. They haven't actually pushed it through to the real servers just yet, but you can go test it out on the test servers, which is where we currently are. The next one, if a teammate disconnects but is still alive in game, other teammates couldn't see the game reward. And until after the teammate that disconnected died, which is really annoying if you're playing pubs and you just get in with random players, because a lot of times if they disconnect, they won't ever reconnect. They'll just be like, I'm going to go get in a new game and start it back up. And so then you're not going to get to see your game results, and which is just a big pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But now if a player disconnects and however many remaining players, if they die, they're going to see their game results right away. If that disconnected player reconnects after their game results have popped up, those players that saw the game result still get the extra bonus. If, like, let's say if they see a 19th place, but that disconnected player reconnects and then plays out the game and takes a first place, those three players still get a first place. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I think, like, logistically that must be a challenge for them to manage. So, like, if for whatever reason, he disconnects, we all go, crap, we're out of here, and basically just bail. We end up, in 19th place. Then he jumps back in and goes hero mode. Then we still get the benefit from it. That's really cool. And interesting that they kind of show the results first up, show us getting the 19th place, and then I guess update it, later afterwards. Obviously, you wouldn't see that first place screen, but if you went back and checked your match history, I'm assuming then you end up with the first place.
And the only caveat is that you're not able to see the death cam, and it basically keeps it fair for everyone. So the players can see the results, but they can't see the death cam, which is nice because you wouldn't want them feeding that extra information to the player that is disconnected.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so the next small thing, they basically are saying farewell to PGI, and you aren't going to see any more of the team logos in games. The loading screen's going to be a little different. The lobby theme and lobby music have reverted back to normal. And so, again, just a small thing. I don't necessarily say if that's a quality of life improvement, but it was going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
I like seeing the team logos in game.
I loved it. I loved it.
Right?
It was fun running around and just seeing them graffitied everywhere. I mean, the loading screen for PGI was great. I'll be sad to see it go, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I loved all of the banner advertising. I thought it was a nice way to kind of insert advertising into the game, or to promote the tournament.
Yeah.
So it was fun seeing that. I'd love to see him utilize it now to show off the winners or something.
Yeah, exactly. Take away all the people that lost. I know. I shouldn't say that. Everyone there was a winner. And they took home money, so it's definitely a winner. But yeah, overall, it's just another update that they're doing.
Yeah,
and so
it'll be interesting to see how they use that from here on out. Like while they're not running PGI, if they go and throw something else on that banner behind them playing, are they going, plaster something else on everyone's parachute, go and graffiti something else all over Aaron Gull? Like it's an interesting way to throw extra content into the game. So I don't know whether they use it or not. Who knows? But yeah,
it would not surprise me to see them redo it with their next major tournament where they plaster the team's logos all over the game again, because it just really hyped up that tournament, and it let fans or let people or the teams build a fan base off it, because some players that haven't ever seen the comp scene, haven't ever been in it, they have no clue who these players are. They're running around playing the game and they see a logo that they like. They're like, that's cool. I like this team. I'm now a fan.
Yep.
And they might tune in and root for that team. And so I think we'll see it again in the future.
Yeah, no, it was a great way of kind of exposing the teams that made it, and just generally building hype for the tournament.
Yes. So the next update, which again I think it's huge. It's a UI/UX update. Basically, it's making to where dropping stuff is easier and more fluid. If you had a gun and you had it fully kitted, like a SCAR, which Andy's carrying right now, fully kitted, and you found an M4, you might want to upgrade. All right, we're back. All right, but whenever you would go to switch out the gun's attachments, you would have to drag each one individually over and drop it. And it just like Auryn said earlier, sometimes that extra second or 2 seconds that it takes, like right there, that can get you killed. Or you're going to lose valuable position. And so now they've changed it to where you click the Alt key and right click on the abilities or the attachments, and it automatically drops all of them. And just like that. Good. Yeah, and so you can quickly switch out. It's just very fluid, very, very fluid.
I'll be honest, like watching streamers often, I'm always super impressed at how quickly they can get all of the attachments on and off. And when I compare that to my own game, where I'm super slow, I'm sitting there janky, staring at the floor in game, like picking up items slowly, putting them onto where I want them to go. This one is a huge quality of life improvement for me, being someone who's just crazy slow at switching out attachments. So I think it's going to make a big difference for me there. I imagine if it's making a difference for me as a kind of casual player, players like you, like in the competitive scene, again, shaving those fractions of seconds is going to make a huge difference.
Yep. And it's all about shaving those fractions off. And another one, so now whenever you go to drop ammo for, like, let's say your teammate needs some ammo or meds even, when you go to drop ammo, if you drug it off and just clicked it off screen, it would drop the entire stack. Now it's going to offer it, like if you were to do that, it offers up a slider bar, and you can quickly select how much ammo you're actually wanting to drop. And it starts out at 50% of the ammo, which I like, because usually you drop right around half your stack, or less if you need to, or more. But it's just another quality of life improvement. And before, you would have to Alt key or Control, it's Alt for me, if you Control drop, and then you'd have to type in a number how much you wanted. And so you'd have to take your hand off the keys you wanted on and select the thing. And now it's just so fluid. You drag and drop, and then you select it by a slide bar. It takes all of 2 seconds, if that.
Yeah. Big UX improvement there, big quality of life improvement. I mean, I think the really smart one there is just literally being able to drop half of your stash. Because most of the time that's pretty much what you're going to do anyway. You're splitting your ammo with one of your teammates, or you're just trying to free up some space in your inventory. So just dropping half of your stash and being able to move on with your life is massive.
Yes.
Again, fractions of seconds.
And if you wanted to drop the full stack altogether, you just wanted it out of your inventory, it's Alt key plus left click, and it'll drop the entire stack. If you Alt key and right click, it's going to automatically drop half of it. And so it's just another thing. It just speeds up the process altogether.
Yeah. Jay Bella just asked, can you still type, or is it just a slider? Andy, can you give us a demo of that? I believe it's just the slider.
I do believe it's just this. Oh no, you can type.
No, you can still type. Nice.
Yes. So yeah, that's nice. Sometimes you won't have to actually find that happy medium on the slider. And so if that's what you prefer, then yeah, it definitely is. They just making it user friendly, which is nice.
If you've got some kind of a weird superstition, you only ever want to give out 42 bullets.
Yeah, I like giving out odd numbers of bullets. Like the teammates like, hey, I just need 40 bullets. You always throw them 41.
Yeah.
But the next one, which I think is another big one, if you have attachments on your gun and you're wanting to drop them or switch out attachments, but your inventory is full, it used to pop up and say inventory full, and you couldn't drop the attachment, like an extended mag on your gun. You couldn't drop just the extended mag until you freed up space in your backpack. Now it's able to just automatically drop it on the ground for you. And I mean, it would do it even with helmets, which in my opinion, it didn't make sense at all. But if your inventory was completely full and you wanted to drop your helmet on the ground, it wouldn't let you. It would say inventory full, and so you would have to free up space to drop that helmet.
Or you would have to drag it manually.
Yeah, well, sometimes even when you try to drag it manually, it would
really?
say, yeah, and I don't understand the helmet thought process, but yeah, even the helmets, it would not let you drop it.
I never noticed it with helmets and stuff like that, but changing out sights, I notice it all the time. So like, you know, you run around right now and he's got a couple of red dot sights on there, and you go, okay, finally I found myself a 4x scope. You go to drag it on there, inventory full. Go to drag it on there, inventory full. You try to switch it out, inventory full. And so now, this again, small quality of life thing that saved fractions of seconds, and it save on cognitive load as well. Save you having to actually think about it. You just right click, bang, you lose your other one.
It's perfect. Because before I got really good at, if I saw inventory full, I would immediately drop my largest stack of ammo, and then switch it out, and then pick up my ammo again, and it's just, again, saves those fractions of seconds. Yeah. It's very nice. Let's see the next one. So players may now mute individual teammates, which again, if you're playing with friends all the time, that might not be the biggest deal. But if you were to randomly queue up with someone, and sometimes you just get those annoying players that you don't want to hear, and now you're able to individually mute that player, it's so nice. I personally don't have my push to talk on, so if I'm playing with random people in game, they're gonna hear everything I'm saying. So sometimes, like if I get a phone call, they're gonna hear my phone call. And it's very rude on my part, but at the same time, now they don't have to do that. They can instantly mute me, which is just really nice.
Is there a hotkey for that, or is it just looks like you have to do it through the options?
Yeah, so escape, options, and then go into the team management tab.
Okay.
You unfortunately do have to go into the options. It's not just like a quick click, but it's relatively quick.
Yep.
And it wouldn't surprise me with this update and having all the small improvements. It wouldn't surprise me to see a quicker option in the future.
Yeah. PUBG Corp, if you're listening, patch notes 20.
Yeah.
Hotkeys to mute your teammates.
The next one, which I think is really cool, the colorblind settings have been improved. I know a lot of people complained about this in the past. Then they're like, I'm colorblind. I'm not me personally, but they said they were, and they didn't think that the colorblind option really benefited them. I personally haven't messed around with any of the colorblind settings because I'm not colorblind, but the following colors have now changed according to the selected colorblind type. And so they can go in and, as you see up here, and go in and, I'm not even going to try and pronounce those names, but depending on what type of colorblind you are, you can go in and change those accordingly. And
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's super accommodating.
And you might not even be colorblind, and you might want to try out different colors and see which works better, because I know the scope and reticle colors change, and that's a big one in of itself. It might not be that red reticle anymore. The blood, which I think is interesting, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the blood setting, because one might be easier to see than others, is I know in the past you could actually go into the files of the game, and if you change something in there, it would change the blood to green rather than red.
Do that with a launch option from Steam. So it's a legal thing for I believe Korea. They can't show actual blood in video games, so they have to have an option to change it to blue, and I think in Korea it must default to that.
Interesting.
And so yeah, it's I kind of agree. Like I've been meaning to try it out or play around with it, because I feel like sometimes that kind of blue-green color would be easier to spot when you actually get a hit, because depending on the lighting and stuff like that, the red is sometimes not the most obvious color when you do actually get a hit.
Entirely. I know that's going to be one of the first things I go home and change is the colorblind type, and I'm going to see what the blood looks like exactly, because if there's one that's easier to spot, I'm going to try and run with that one, obviously. And then supply crate smoke. I personally like the red smoke coming from it. I think it looks really cool. But if you weren't able to see it, then I can definitely see why you would want to switch it. This one, which is, markers placed on the map are now numbered, so color is not the only way to distinguish them. So the colorblind mode, I don't think changes the colors of the markers at all, but it adds numbers to them, and so it's just another way to distinguish between them.
Andy, do you still have a colorblind mode on? Can you show us one of those numbered markers? I think that's really interesting as well. Often and again, this is me just being a casual kind of noob player, but I often have trouble keeping track of which color is which of my teammates, and so I think the numbered option actually might benefit me there.
And I don't think we're seeing the numbers on there actually right now because he's playing in a solo mode, no teammates, so no one to have to see it.
I mean, he's clearly number one.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's keep moving down the list. This one's huge.
Yes,
this one's huge.
This is absolutely a massive update, which is going to make, if you play as a solo, maybe not the biggest update, but for anyone that plays duos or squads, they're going to love this. Now, whenever you see an enemy, you can just instantly mark him by hitting, you right click while pressing the Alt key on the, so it places a marker on the map where you're aiming. And so if you spot an enemy out, there's no longer, you could still call him out obviously, but you could just say, hey, he's right on top of my marker. And it's just a quick way to make it known to your teammates where they are.
I'm actually keen to see this one in action now. We haven't played around with it yet. Andy's kind of using it all for the first time. So, what is the hotkey for it?
It is Alt and then right click.
Okay.
There we go. You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
If you want to look off in the distance a little bit, Andy, and do it. So like look at a tree and mark it.
Need somewhere they contrast a little better with yellow. I see it popping up there.
Yep.
Let's just switch over to the other view. There we go. Let's see that now. That's awesome. And so then the one thing that I'd wonder about that is like, how does it choose the depth? I assume it must just be like whatever it collides with.
Yeah.
Whatever your crosshair collides with is what it's going to mark. So does it, Andy, can you check if it collides with players? So you can actually mark like the player's position as opposed to like colliding with the building behind it or the mountain behind it?
It does.
Yeah, that's unreal.
That is nice.
That's unbelievable. And then the other thing is, does it have height as well? Because that's one of the things that the previous marking system, you could only mark basically just like a flat location. You couldn't mark anywhere, like say, okay, the second story of this building. So if you can now go and mark the second floor of that building, obviously it shows up on the map the same, but I wonder how it shows up for your teammates if they can now see that mark is actually elevated.
They do. And so I saw a video of this already. It does actually show up on teammates just as what you're seeing on screen here.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That's a huge improvement.
Which something I like a lot. If you see when he's looking at it, the yellow marker is a little more transparent, and then if you were to aim in on it, it goes like really transparent.
Okay.
And it disappears after I think it's like 5 seconds or so, which is nice because if you're marking a person in, see how it goes transparent. If you're marking in a person in a window like that, and that person's just barely peeking his head around, you don't want a big marker blocking his head. It makes it harder to see him. But it will still stay up on the mini map the entire time. So although it disappears on your viewpoint, it'll stay marked on the mini map.
Right. I wonder one more thing you could try for us, Andy. Shoot it, like see how you can see like through the window there, and then out to the mountain on the other side. If you mark it, yeah, like I wonder what how the collider works there. If you can mark like something on the other side of the building, or if it's going to catch the building. Okay, great. So that'd be my kind of expected behavior there. You wouldn't want it to go and mark all the way through the building accidentally.
Right.
Because you're rarely going to be as precise as Andy's being right now. Like you're going to flick your cursor over there, mark it real quick, and then probably get your head back out of the firing line.
That's interesting. I did not think about that. That would be that'd be a pain in the butt because then you have your teammates looking like behind the building and being like, he's not on your mark, man.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, that's how I would expect it to behave, or how I would want it to behave. If you're inside the building, out of the glass, how's that? Okay, great.
Nice.
I think they've got that spot on.
So the hotkey for that is Alt and then you right click. And so whenever you're sprinting, it's the key that you press and you can like look around, but you can change this one. That can be customized in the options menu, which is really nice because I'm personally going to do that because I use the Alt key all the time to look around. And if I'm going to mark something, I'm going to have it just like ready to go on like, I don't know, on a random key that I never press.
In all honesty, like holding the Alt key down while you're running, you could be looking off to the right, mark something on the right though, because you still have to hit that right click button. I don't think there's another situation there where you're hitting the right click button while you're holding Alt.
That is true.
You're never going to scopes while you're running, or while you're free looked.
Yeah, that's true. Very good point. But yeah, overall, I just think that's going to be an amazing update for the player base. Anyone that plays squads is absolutely going to love it, and it's going to make the comms a little more clear, and not having to call out like distance, number, or direction, and then something that they're by. You can just literally mark it, and then it will draw your teammates' eyes right to it.
The hail comes.
Yep.
Bring the storm.
And this is another big one. Eliminated teammates can now place markers on the map, which is absolutely huge because before, if you got killed and you were literally just sitting there, you have nothing to do. You can maybe call out enemies for teammates, but overall, it's just going to make it something that dead players can do and help out, really contribute to the team still. And I know as an IGL, it's huge because if I were to die early, I can't mark anything, and I'm having to be like, no, you want to go here. Can someone mark on the map, like mark this location? No, it's a little further east. No, it's a little further south. And so it's just going to make it so much nicer and more fluid.
Hey, so Mr. Potato Head just asked if we can run it back, trying to mark through windows. So he said he thinks it hit the bar, which is why it stopped. So if we can get kind of a clear path through a couple of windows to try and place a marker, that'd be great. I'm going to throw you guys back to the full screen view so we can get a real good look at it. So we need to be outside and get a view through a couple of windows and see what happens. I mean, and like, so this is a weird situation here because you may want to be marking the guy on the other side. Let's see, where did that marker go?
It looks like it did go through.
So that one went all the way through. Interesting.
Good catch, Mr. Potato Head. So yeah, it looks like he might have hit the bar.
All right, so note to everyone, just be careful with where you're throwing your markers down if there's windows involved.
Which, I mean, it makes sense in this scenario because you definitely want to, there's a good chance you might want to be marking through it all the way.
I wonder if there's any kind of proximity involved there. So Andy right there was pretty close up to the building. I wonder if you're further back from the building, if that makes a difference. So maybe go the other side, Andy, and try and mark through. And we'll see what happens there. Don't hit that window pane. All right, well, it looks like it's on the other side.
Yep, so, it did mark through.
Mr. Potato Head, you're all over it. Looks like we must have hit the bar before.
Maybe find a window with bars and see if it's possible to mark through it or if it's always going to catch the bar regardless of where you're looking. Like, yeah, this one right here. So looks like you're, yep, perfect.
It went through the bars.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's very good to know.
Yeah. Note to self: don't hit the bars. All right, where were we? Let's keep talking.
Equipped weapons hood now shows slot numbers for improved readability.
Let's go back to the other one, the eliminated teammates. Because I know you were really hyped about that. You were really excited about it. You know, from a competitive point of view, it means if your in-game lead, your shot caller gets eliminated, then you still have, they can still do their job. Basically, they can still do their role. I'm not sure about it. I see the utility in it. From the game's point of view, or from like the, I guess staying true to the idea of, okay, this player's dead. I kind of don't really like it. I kind of think that that player shouldn't be able to input, have any input into the game. Obviously, you can't stop people being on Discord and observing the other guy and trying to help out and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think from like being really true to the game or the idea of the game of, okay, you're eliminated, you can't help out anymore. That's personally the way I'd like to see it go, but that's just kind of like a personal taste preference, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Yeah, that's really interesting because you're right. From a survival aspect, if you die, you shouldn't you can't stop people from being in Discord, but you shouldn't be able to communicate and help out teammates because you're dead. But I know from an IGL perspective and like just overall being able to help and still contribute to the team, it makes me feel like I'm worth something when I'm dead and able to contribute rather than just be like, dang it, I died. I have nothing to help the team with besides maybe calling out enemies.
Deuces, I'm going to go get a burrito. just hanging out. I definitely I see the value in it. Like from a competitive point of view, I'd want to be helping my team out as much as I can. And thinking about it, from my own experience playing with the group of guys I play with casually, when someone dies in a matchmaking game, you just start spectating the other 3 players, and that's always still even a valuable addition. Like having that other person just watching through your perspective, they'll catch stuff that you don't. If I'm playing, someone will catch something off in the corner that I missed and say, hey, there's a dude up there. Hey, there's a crate up there. There's a vehicle. You missed that scope. You missed that extended mag. Whatever it is. So having that extra person in my ear, being able to drop some assistance there is great. And I imagine that now with them being able to place markers, it's just going to add to that. I'm really interested to see how the mechanics of that work. So are they going to be locked to spectating their own team? And then how do they actually go about placing markers? Do they just go to the map and place markers on the map?
I'm assuming it's just the same way. I don't think they're going to be able to do the alt-click and place it where they see or where their player's looking necessarily. So I'm assuming they're going to have to open up the map and then just place it down randomly or wherever they want it, not randomly. But because I know, like before, like we were talking about with my team, as an IGL, if I were to die, we have designated roles who next in line is going to be picking up the talking and then shot calling. And so now it's where that's going to revert back to the IGL is just going to be the IGL for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And it just makes it more fluid. That way someone's not just thrown into the mixer and like having to mark and call out everything where they're wanting to go.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure on how it's going to work exactly.
Yeah, no, I'll be interested to see that. I can't wait to have a play around with it tonight and tomorrow. And yeah, just really, dive into the whole patch notes, everything, all of these updates have been really, really cool. Snooze just asked, are fake flare guns fixed? I have no idea. I hope so.
I did see somewhere in the patch notes, which I'm sure we'll get to it later on, but I do know that they fixed some things with the settings. I think it was more of the red zone.
Yeah. But for anyone that doesn't have context on that, we in our Survival Sundays the last couple of weeks have had some issues where we've been pretty darn certain that we've switched off those flare guns, and then lo and behold, someone picks one up and shoots it off, and all of the players rage in Discord. So fingers crossed that's not going to be an issue anymore. I do know we'll get to these spots later in the patch notes. I do know that they've made some updates to the eSports mode, which should save us some time and eliminate the kind of human error that is possible there with setting up custom lobbies.
Because I know it happened in scrims last night. The settings were 100% correct. They said they double-checked them, triple-checked them, and then 4 different teams shot off flare guns, and everyone went crazy in the general chat. It was funny to watch from an outsider's perspective, but yeah, they definitely are not fixed on the live servers right now, and so I think they really put in a lot of quality of life patches, just updates in general with this particular patch, and so it would not surprise me in the slightest to see the flare guns fixed. Pro Bowl asked, not patch related, but I have heard on Sandhawk that if you are running in the water, if you crouch, you can move faster. That is true. It's on Erangel too. I thought that's been in the game the entire time. I thought it was really interesting. But I know over in Watertown, over by Roshawk, there's water that is about knee height, and if you're standing up and sprinting through it, you run slower than if you were just to crouch and sprint through it, which is interesting. I don't know if we're going to see them change that, but they haven't changed it on this patch, so it's still a thing.
I was not aware of that at all. I'm totally going to use that from now on.
Yeah, It's interesting.
That's a bizarre kind of mechanic. I wonder if it was deliberate or if it's just a byproduct of kind of someone omitting a setting somewhere. Or
Another fun, like not patch related, but this is a fun fact for PUBG. Every Tuesday night when Steam maintenance goes down, it will disconnect you from game and it pops up an error message saying Steam connectivity issues. If you hit OK, it kicks you out of the game. If you hit the escape bar, it lets you play out the game, which is, not patch related, but a lot of people don't know that. And then they get their game interrupted by Steam maintenance, which takes all of a couple minutes, but you miss out on a game, And if you're in like a top 10 situation and you get a Steam connectivity issue, that's so annoying to have to hit OK and it just kicks you out, when in reality you could just hit the escape bar and it's going to let you play it out.
Mac and cheese, I honestly have no idea what you're asking here in chat. Talk with Refurium. I guess we can look up whatever Refurium is after the stream. Thanks for the tip. We'll check them out. So what's the next thing we've got? The kill feed now displays personal knockouts.
Yes, this is another big thing, just a quality of life improvement. So before, if you were to knock, let's say 2 people with a grenade, or even 1, if you knocked 1, then you see it pop up on your main screen, but you don't see it in the top right kill feed, which isn't the big of a deal. But if you were to knock out 2 people, you only see the 1 knock pop up on your mid screen. But in the top right, you're now going to see that you knocked 2 people. And it actually happened to a teammate of mine last night. He threw a grenade, knocked 2 people, and I was like, yo, you got 2 of them, let's push. And he's like, I knocked 2? He's like, I only saw 1. And I was like, yeah, and then we pushed in on him. And so it's just the little things like that that's going to be really nice. You're going to know exactly how many people you knocked, and you're going to have just a second clarification on those people.
Okay, interesting. That wasn't something that I've experienced, but I can definitely see how it would be useful.
Yeah.
Sharpening option has been added to the graphics settings. I can't see that being one that I mess with personally, but I'm sure it's something that people will tweak, and particularly in the comp scene, if it's something that people can get a little bit more detail, a little bit more resolution, or kind of make the game a little bit clearer, then I can definitely see it being something that people mess around with and kind of optimize.
Yeah, and I personally will try to mess around with it. I think especially on like a lower end PC, where getting any really PC, but getting the max FPS is always important, or not necessarily the max FPS, but you want the best frames per second without the dips and everything. And so if the sharpening option makes it to where you get less dips or you're able to get more FPS, then I could definitely see it being beneficial. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play into it, and so we'll have to definitely mess around with it more. With that being said, they added an option to set a maximum frame rate, which again wouldn't necessarily be the biggest thing for me, but people with 244 hertz monitors or a 1080 Ti, or the really, really high-end PCs, they might want to max out their FPS to 60 or unlimited or 30, rather than just letting it jump all around. And I don't know if you'd necessarily want to set a cap at 30, but it might help.
I mean, it's really rare, but if you're playing on a 30 hertz monitor, then there's no point pushing it past that. I think the 60 frames per second setting is pretty interesting, because a lot of players are going to be playing on a 60 FPS or 60 hertz monitor. So there's not really any point in running your game at 100 frames per second, 120 frames per second, if your monitor can't reproduce it. And so the ability there to within the game client itself, go and basically put that limit on your FPS to save resources means that you can potentially dial up the graphics settings and lock in your frames per second at a particular cap. Also means that you wouldn't be dealing with as much inconsistency. You mentioned the frame drops. Mm-hmm. If you have that cap set in and have your graphics settings at a point where, if you left it unlimited, you'd be dealing with 75 frames per second, but you cap it at 60, then you know that you're going to be solidly on 60 the entire time, and you're not going to have frame drops or inconsistent frames, which will basically have you with experience less kind of screen tearing and that kind of stuff.
Yes. And then with that being said, they added a smooth option, which is an Unreal Engine feature, which is Unreal Engine, if you're not aware, that's the engine that runs PUBG and the servers that they're based off of. And so that's going to be really nice. hopefully, I think you're gonna have to mess around with it and see if maybe you experience more dips, but it's supposed to just smooth out your FPS altogether.
That, and I believe it's similar to like a VSync, where it's going to match up the frame rate of the game with the frame rate of your monitor, right?
Ooh.
Is that what it is? We're going to open it up here real quick and dive in, because I'm not 100% sure on this, but that was the impression that I got.
Yeah. So it looks like it is similar to a VSync.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, it's something along those lines where it's, I think, going to try and match your frame rate up with your monitor's refresh rate, assuming that your hardware can push it to that point. If you've got a 240 hertz monitor, good luck getting PUBG to run at 240 hertz.
I'd be impressed.
I would be very impressed.
Let's see, what do we have next?
We've got our sofa, unfortunately. There we go. We're back.
Now you can move your mouse cursor to another monitor when in the system menu, world map, or inventory is open, if you use multiple monitors, which I personally like. Before, you would have to Alt-Tab out, which isn't the biggest deal, but at the same time, it's just a small quality of life update to where if you hit the escape bar or open up your map, you're going to quickly be able to drag over to the next monitor.
I'm in two minds about that. I like it because it is a pain in the ass sometimes to hit Alt-Tab, but at the same time, I kind of like having my mouse locked into the environment of just PUBG, so that I don't do it by accident. If I bring up the mouse cursor and accidentally drag too far over onto my second, or accidentally move my mouse over onto the second monitor and click when I was trying to place a marker near the edge of the map, I could take myself out of game and then lose control of my game and have to Alt-Tab back in without knowing it, which again is one of those things that could actually negatively impact quality of life, negatively impact your ability to continue playing the game fluidly. You could lose a couple of those fractions of a second, realizing that, holy shit, I'm out of the game. I need to get back in, and that's time where someone could sneak up and pop you on the back.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure how I feel about that either, because realistically, it's not hard to Alt-Tab. It's quick,
and that way it's a conscious decision. You've made the choice.
Exactly.
Okay, go and switch to another window, so you know it's happening. You've put yourself in a position where you know you're safe. If you're out in the open, running through, quickly trying to bring your map up so you can see what's going on, and then accidentally end up controlling another window outside of PUBG, and then your character stops running and you're just standing still in the middle of a field, that's a real opportunity for you to get pretty messed up.
It's true. The biggest one is that if the inventory is opened.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of times I quickly drag, if I'm wanting to drop something, I drag and drop it. And I have, just an inch or two of space to drag it. And a lot of times I'll just slam it into the side of the monitor and it's going to automatically drop. But now, if I do that, it's going to go over to my left side monitor, which is going to be a pain.
Yeah, I would like to see that one being a toggle. If it's not already, I'd like to see that being an option that you can turn on or off, because I personally will turn it off.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I see how the competitive scene responds to that.
So this next update, which is a little controversial, I know a lot of people didn't want to see it, and a lot of people did. Dynamic weather has been added to Erangel and Miramar. You can just scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
So on Erangel, there's now an overcast. Overcast settings include dynamic weather, includes rain, fog, etc. during the game, which I think when they originally brought it out, or the fog and the rain, a lot of people didn't like it because the fog was too foggy and you couldn't see far enough ahead at all. You could see, maybe 20 feet ahead of you. And the rain was too loud, so you couldn't hear if someone was sneaking up on you. Now, and they've had the overcast setting on Sandhawk for a while, and so I've had a decent amount of experience with it. But now it's where it goes from being an overcast into a little bit of rain, into like stormy, and then foggy, or foggy into stormy. It really depends. And I think that they've really fine-tweaked the noise levels, the fogginess, to where they took out the negatives that people were complaining about and added it back into the game. Because I like having the dynamic weather. It's more fun. It adds, whenever I'm playing on a foggy map, it really adds another level of intensity.
I feel like it really increases the immersion. Dynamic weather effects and just different weather effects make the game feel more real. That's been one thing that, from a TO point of view, has kind of frustrated me, is that the competitive scene wants sunny all the time, sunny every day. And that's not how real life works, you know. It rains sometimes. And I'd like to, you know, for our survival Sundays, throw in a rainy map here and there, throw in a sunset map, you know, just have a bit of something different that you have to learn to adapt to as a competitive player.
Yep. And like if you see on this fog setting, you can see far enough ahead, definitely. Like it's such an improvement to where they had it originally. And the rain's not nearly as loud. You can hear people walking up on you. It's just really nice. And I agree. I like the diversity. And I'm excited to see that. But they added the overcast setting to Wrangle, which already had sunset. It already had sunny. It already had clear cast. No overcast. And then Miramar, they added the overcast and sunset. So now on Miramar, you're going to be able to have a sunset as well as in this fog and rain.
And let's just be honest, the sunset setting is the best for any kind of cinematography type stuff. Like if you're jumping in there trying to catch some footage, sunset looks so beautiful. It's unbelievable.
It does. I know the biggest complaint with the sunset one was basically being able to see someone off in the distance. It made it a little harder to see them sometimes because if they lined up with the sun perfectly, you're like it blocked them out.
But see, I love that as well from a competitive point of view, because it's another aspect of the game that you can throw and say, okay, I know they're off there. I know the sun's behind me. If I stay in the line of the sun, they can't see me. Like I can post up on this hill, I have the sun behind me, and they're not going to be able to shoot at me. Like it's an interesting element to the game that you can throw in and use it to your advantage or to the other team's disadvantage, and vice versa. Like it's a competitive element in the same way having a tree in a field is. Like it's a piece of terrain that you can use. And so that's one thing, again, as a TO that's frustrated me, that the competitive scenes just die hard addiction to purely sunny weather. I would really love to see us experiment with some other weather types.
And I think we'll be seeing that as well. I could see why in the past, with the rain being too loud and the fog being too foggy, it kind of taking away from the competitive aspect because people buy these nice headsets and they want to be able to hear someone coming up on them, and it's a big part of the game in the competitive scene. But now that it's not as loud and not as foggy, I think we'll definitely see that introduced into the competitive scene. Snooze. I would play PUBG if I could just camp on a rainy map all day. I agree. Let's see. The next one, which I think is really cool, Wrangle has received some improvements on the map. Small clusters of houses have been added to some areas of Wrangle. I have only noticed one area, and it's this area right here, which is on the military base right south of the West Bridge. And before, it was just a few trees and just basically an open road. And now, as you can see, they added in a good compound. I wouldn't surprise me to see this turn into a popular loot spot, especially to contest the people that land in military base itself, because there's those buildings right there, and then just a little bit more to the south is another set of, I think it's 4 buildings altogether, to where they're going to be able to basically get 2 people kitted by just dropping here, which is going to be really nice. I think it's going to change up some of the rotation paths. And then you can't see it as well, but off to the right, they added an extra hill and then a lot more trees as well. And so it's just adding more cover, which is an extreme improvement in my opinion. And
Andy, any chance you can take us through there live? We're in the test server, right?
I do believe I saw the blue had closed in and forced him out of military island, so we'd have to go in and restart again. But
fair enough.
Yeah, it's what you see right here is basically it. You can't see the tiny hill off to the right, but it's basically just more tactical landscapes have been added, and that's really nice. And they say that and here's another one. More tactical landscapes have been added near the river, and so if you want to just scroll down a little bit.
Well, I think that's on his other tab, but yeah, I agree with this. This one I saw and I was like, yeah, that's a great addition, because there's a couple of beaches there where
there we go.
If you're out on the beach right there, you shit out of luck if someone's up on the bridge. Like there's nothing to hide behind, nothing to take advantage of. So just that small improvement there, I think, makes a big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference, because honestly, in like team, and you're going to see a dynamic change in comp, because before you'd have someone camping on that far west hill, which you could see just right at the bottom of the screen. They'd camp up on those rocks, and they would try to take out anybody that came to the beach. And now there's so many different places to crash in a boat, and you can hide behind this rock, you can hide behind that rock. There's trees in between the beach and the compound, and so basically you're not SOL if you pull up there. It just adds more variety to the gameplay, and you're going to see different strats put into place. I think it's a great update. I think they need to do more of these changes around all of Erangel. I don't think they added enough small changes like this to the map to make it just more fair and more to basically where you're going to be able to fight your way out of situations rather than just be like, well, we're going to get shot here, we're SOL, we'll have to pray that they don't hit their shots, which is just really nice. I think on the north side, specifically like between Severny and Zarki, I would really like to see more changes done just like this, because there's just so much terrain up there where if you're not in one of the dominant positions, you're in bad shape. And I think we'll see more.
I think that, I mean, my guess is that this is going to be a bit of a proof of concept for them for introducing those kind of small tweaks to maps based on probably player feedback. And so if this one goes down well, my guess is we can expect to see some more similar updates, improving those areas that are just pretty much avoided as much as possible in the competitive scene, just because they're essentially death traps. If you go there, you will die because someone has a great angle on you and there's nowhere to hide.
Yep, exactly. And I think just adding updates to the map in general is just really nice, because like with the fog and with the rain, it just adds more diversity, and it makes it to where it just changes up the gameplay a little bit, and it's always keeping people on their toes, and I like to see that a lot. It's not the same stale gameplay that you get, and I shouldn't say stale, that's not the right word for it, but like if the circle closes in and you've played that same circle hundreds of times, like in a field, it's not the most fun, and you're like, okay, well, this is the only option we have to do. And like this circle right here, the majority of it's in a field, and so I would like to see more hay bales, or just really anything added to this to make it to where you're not just SOL if you're not holding one of those 3 spots off to the left or the hill off to the north. It's just, I think it'd be really nice to see a lot of hay bales, and I mean, because you see it in the rest of the fields, or most of the fields, there's hay bales and places to hide behind, and this one, it's just such an open field and open setting, and so it really depends on it comes down to RNG and who has the better position rather than being able to fight your way out of it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Something, I mean, whether it's hay bales or a little bit of changes in elevation, so you've got something to hide behind, something to kind of make rotations to and out of, I think makes a big difference. Having said that, I mean, it's to a certain extent part of the game as well. Like there is that RNG element that's baked in and is part of the whole kind of concept of just a survival game. And so sometimes you're going to end up in a situation like this where you aren't necessarily going to have the best cover, and it's true. It's about the team's ability to adapt. So, I mean, to be honest, I'm happy with it either way, but I can see where you're coming from there. That just, a couple of extra hay bales and more consistent coverage definitely would be something that the competitive scene's looking for.
Okay. Brogar says your mic is a little hard to hear, so if maybe we could turn you up out there, or
I can just talk way louder.
Just start screaming.
I'm all about that. Here we go. I'll just try to turn up my volume manually, and we can go from there. So right before that, Avenged Angel asked, not app related, but are they going to bring back the map selection? Personally, I don't like the desert map, and I'm always getting that map. So honestly, mate, I have no idea. I don't know. That's one of the things that I'm in two minds about as well. I think I like the fact that when you jump into queue, you don't know where you're going to be, and I think that's again me being a bit of a purist. I will talk as loud as this shirt. I think I'm a bit of a purist on the whole kind of survival aspect. That's why I'm always trying to. I like scoring systems where you're rewarding first place significantly more than you're rewarding the rest of them, because they're the last to survive. I like probably no more than about a 3%. The score for getting a kill should be no more than about 3% of the total score for first place, because position is what's important. I understand it's fun to watch people shooting each other, but it's a survival game. You know, and so anything that's kind of keeping the game true to that kind of survival mechanic, I tend to be all about.
I'm on the exact opposite end. I'm with you 100%. I don't like playing Miramar as much as I do a Wrangle or Sandhawk even. So I like the fact that I'm able to choose Sandhawk and play that every single game.
Yeah.
I also think it will make the games a little more. It brings a little bit more of integrity to the game because, like, basically, in my opinion, let's say you don't like Miramar and you keep getting that over and over, and you're like, finally, I'm just going to play it. I'll hot drop Picado, and so you're going to see the number of players drop dramatically quickly. And I think that if you got to pick the map that you wanted to play, and that's like you're not forced to play one or the other. I mean, you're not necessarily forced because you can just leave the game, but basically, if you're able to pick the map that you want, you're gonna have a better chance of players playing it out rather than just hot dropping over and over and over and over. Because I know whenever I get Miramar, I go Picado every single time in public matches.
Yeah.
And in Wrangle, I'll play it out and I'll go. You know, I still stick to the same types of drops, but I play it a lot more seriously and try to win rather than like I'm just gonna hot drop.
Yeah. Well, so, and that's probably just me being a weirdo. Robert, our marketing lead, he can attest to the fact that I might be the lone person on the planet that prefers Miramar. I love that map. I don't know why, I just love that map. And so that's just me being a weirdo. So maybe that's why I'm trying to put up the fight for keep Miramar strong, keep it in the rotation. Because if you take it out, just no one's going to play it.
It's true.
Then again, maybe that means some easy wins for me. Andy, actually, so this could be fortuitous here. The circle's closing in on him. It's just him and David left in the map. It was just them to start with, but they've been cruising around together, having a good time. The next section is about the custom match settings. So maybe actually you could go ahead and fight this one out. Go! Launched it. Now's your chance. I think David's AFK. So well, let's finish this one off. And then we'll go in and start diving into some of the custom match settings, and then we can jump back in and start up another custom match afterwards if we still have more stuff that we want to explore in game. That was glorious.
So it does look like Mr. Potato Head agrees with you. He loves Miramar as well. And Brogart's right. Miramar did get a lot better whenever they finished it and added extra compounds in the map, smoothed it out. And I read that, I'm not sure, I think it's further on in the patch notes that we're going to get to, but they basically added a few more roads and smoothed out some terrain on Miramar, making it just easier to drive through, and you're not going to have to go over any harder terrain. It's still hard terrain, obviously, but it's easier.
Well, the thing that I think they said they put in more of the dirt roads, so you can kind of go cross country a little bit, but not hit some of those just random invisible walls and invisible rocks that just flip your car and all that jazz. That was primarily, I think, the competitive scene's hate for Miramar was just that they didn't know what they were going to get, especially if you ended up on a trike or something like that. If you were on a trike, you had no hope of doing anything that wasn't on a road in Miramar. All right, so moving on. Let's talk about the custom match settings here. So they've gone ahead and added some extra custom match settings. Normal mode now. What have they got? They said, okay, so it's back to how it was, I guess?
So it's just an early access setting. So if you were to go to create and then select normal mode, before they had a preset mode, which was just normal mode, the default settings, and now they have an early access settings, which basically changes it to level 3 helmets still spawn on the ground, which I like. Item spawns are more scarce, and the blue zone damage is a lot weaker, and then jet skis aren't in the game. I like the jet skis. That's the only thing that I would say change.
Love the jet skis,
so much fun. But the blue zone damage is weaker, which is another big thing, because I remember when the game first started, one of the major tournaments, I can't remember what team it was exactly, but they took a second place by looting up all of North George, and then they just used first aids over and over and over and over and over. It was a crazy smart strat. But PUBG quickly changed that right after that tournament and made it to where you can't do that anymore. And the Evermore strat, that's it. Again, crazy smart. But yeah, they sat there and looted the entirety of North George and picked up first aids and meds, and that was it. And so I think it's going to be really nice to basically have a normal mode setting, an early access setting, and it's just for fun throwback. I don't think you'll see it played too often, or, especially in the comp scene, and who knows, maybe you will. And you can see right there, Tommy Gun and Car 98's actually Spawn. I'm guessing that is a typo, Spawn, in the care package, which is cool.
You guys want some fries?
Good, thank you. Appreciate it, Joe.
And let's see, the next one is the eSports mode. They added a Gamescom Invitational 2017 setting, which is basically, you're not stuck to just using the PGI settings now. And I'd like to see...
That's really cool.
Yes.
That's really cool.
I think that's good. I think they should add in a lot more of these. They should take any of the top tournaments or top leagues settings and run with those as a preset, because it just makes it easier, especially like on our end here at FirstBlood. Whenever we go to create a custom match, it's so awesome to be able to just click on the PGI settings and then have everything preset. There's no human error with that.
Yeah, and no time wasted. So for anyone that's ever created a custom match, it is an absolute pain in the ass to go through there and and put in all of the circle settings. There's what, there must be 30 or 40 text fields you've got to fill out, as well as going through and adjusting all of the spawn rates for items. And during that, yeah, like you said, Shane, there's huge potential for human error. So wherever we can eliminate that human error and then just speed things up, makes it a lot easier for us as TOs. Really looking forward to update 20, patch notes 20, when they've got the Survival Sunday preset in there. Yes. That is going to be absolutely beautiful. Save us a bunch of time. Hopefully, get a little bit of hype out there for Survival Sunday. That's pure sarcasm. Hopefully, one day.
One day. It wouldn't surprise me if we see it one day. So the next one, the overcast settings and basically the weather settings in general in custom matches can be adjusted, and you're able to, I'm guessing you'd have to, whenever you actually create the game mode and you go into the actual settings, you're going to basically be able to change the weather change start time from when it goes from being foggy to rainy to, I guess, just overcast in general. Weather change start time, the max and the minimum of it, and then the duration, the max and minimum of it. It might not change at all. It could change to rain weight or change to fog weight, and so you can make it super rainy or super foggy, which is actually really nice. They make it to where you're able to decide how foggy or how rainy it is. Because I know on some of the rain games, you're hearing thunder go off left and right, and it really puts you. It just makes it where you can be immersed to the level you want it to be.
Yeah, I like that, and you can obviously change things up for the style of tournament that you're wanting to run, or the style of event. I mean, not everything is a crazy competitive event. Not everything needs to be set up so that everyone can hear every single footstep. It may be an interesting event to set something up that's more of a kind of casual, fun event where, yeah, you've got some thunder going off, you've got red zones, and everything's kind of obscuring what information you can actually get from your headphones. I think, again, it's one of the things that the competitive scene hates, but the red zones, one of the things that people kind of often miss about that is not so much about the danger of a bomb hitting you, but the audio cover that it gives you. Like, anytime a red zone starts up, that's an opportunity for you to rotate without anyone knowing that you're rotating. That's an opportunity for you to sneak up on someone, which again, the comp scene hates it, but it's a really interesting, immersive and kind of cool part of the game there, where you can exploit that to your advantage if you understand how to use it.
Yeah, completely. And so the next one, just custom match sessions are now listed in order of number of players joined instead of time created. It's just a small update, but it's nice because beforehand you would see like this custom match has been sitting here for 10 minutes and now it's showing on players that they're joined. And so like the number, basically the first one popped up is going to have the most amount of players in it, and then towards the bottom it's going to have the least amount, or vice versa, whichever way you want to filter it out.
Are the filters all working properly? Because that's been an issue for a while there, where you'll kind of try to filter it and they essentially won't filter out properly, especially if you try to type in keywords. So maybe try typing in banana and see what happens.
There we go.
Perfect.
Nice.
That's a huge addition there. It seems really silly, but again, from a TO point of view, that's massive, because there's up until this point, and you can probably attest to this, Shane, that you're trying to get into the competitive lobby, you have a cutoff time. The lobby's going to start at 6 p.m. sharp. If you're not in there by 6 p.m., they start without you, and you get left behind. Your team takes an L. So just that little change there is a huge quality of life improvement. If you know the lobby name in advance and you can type it in, and that's the only lobby you have to join. You don't, you have to filter through. You don't have to go on and kind of scroll through the list to try and find the one that you want to join.
Yes. The next one, when creating an esports mode, red zone option is fixed to off. Beforehand, in esports, the red zone's always going to be turned off, and so it was just a small thing that was kind of an annoyance. So quality of life update, which is what this patch is all about, as we said before. But basically, it's now fixed to off, which is where it should have been in the first place. And now the next one, when you create a custom match, you must fill in the game title to proceed further. Another quality of life update, because I know sometimes whenever I've done the custom matches, or if I'm hosting scrims or anything like that, whenever I would, the idea is you're wanting to get the lobby up as fast as possible. So you do the password, you do the title name, and before you do any of the settings, you push it live. That way players can be joining as you're changing the settings. Yeah. But sometimes you would forget to change the title, and you'd push it live, and the players, that defeats the purpose. No one's going to be able to find it and join.
Raging, where's my lobby?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's just another thing that it's going to keep people from making that mistake, which is nice.
So one thing that isn't listed here that you and I talked about earlier, replays on esports mode, they've been broken. There was some kind of an issue in the past where if you selected esports mode, the players could not view their replays after the game. Has that changed?
It has, and I do believe they did note it further down in the bug issues or bug fixes. But that's a huge one, especially for if you're hosting a tournament. You're now forced into do normal mode, even though the esports mode is there, because all of the player base is going to complain that they're not able to go back and watch replays, which is huge for anyone in the comp scene, because they want to go back and review footage, see where they went wrong, see where rotations, see who landed where, and they weren't able to do that with the esports mode, and now they're able to, which is really, really nice.
And again, that means that we don't have to make a compromise between exposing ourselves to human error and the competitive players being able to go and review their footage. So big win there. Really happy with that.
And then another thing with the esports mode, and then like having to choose which one's which, it came down to, do you want replays or do you want hard spawns? Because in the normal mode, there's not hard car spawns. It's not in the hard car spawns. For those of you who don't know, basically there's certain areas on the map like garages and a couple spawns in towns where a car will always spawn there in esports mode, so it takes away the RNG on whether or not you're going to get a vehicle, which is really nice. And then also the vehicles spawn with, I think it's anywhere from 75% gas to 100%, and then in normal mode it's random, and you might get a vehicle that has a third of a tank of gas, which is, you hate finding that, because you're not going to be able to drive nearly as far as where you're wanting to rotate to.
And no one picks up gas cans.
So the next part, basically just some important performance updates, which is great for me because I don't run on the best computer. I'm not running with a 1080 Ti or anything like that. So basically, this is huge for me. They improved the frame rate by optimizing weapons not currently held in hand. I'm not entirely sure how that worked out exactly, but any improved frame rate is big. And so I guess optimizing weapons, maybe the ones you're carrying in back beforehand, they were clunky and you lost FPS because of them.
That's an interesting one. I kind of read through it and wondered how that was impacting the performance.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it must just be having to render those weapons that are sitting on your back is taxing on your system. So whatever improvement they've made there, if it's increasing FPS, I'm all about it.
Yep, 100%. Level streaming has been enhanced to increase performance. Again, not entirely sure how that is incorporated into it, but again, anything that increases performance is big. This next one is what I'm all about, because I'll read it first. Smoke and flames from vehicles have been optimized to improve frame rate. Which earlier I thought it was just like smoke in general. I didn't realize there was smoke and flames from vehicles. But either way, sometimes, let's say you get a UAS and you blow it up for hard cover, or it's low health and someone else blows it up. Beforehand, if you were sitting right next to that vehicle, you would notice a big increase or a big decrease in your frame rates, and you would go from maybe 60 FPS to like 40 real quick. And sometimes that would make my computer crash. This just smokes in general. You notice a big frame rate drop with those, and so basically them optimizing that to improve the frame rate is so nice. The next is fixed an issue where frame rate hitches would occur when environment effects were created. So I wonder if that includes smoke grenades or if that's just with rain and fog. Either way, this section is all about the performance improvements, and so if they're fixing issues and making it to where you're not getting as many frame rate hitches, that's big.
Yeah. Then the next couple here are about server performance, and that's huge. I mean, everyone here would have noticed a month or two ago when they pushed the whole kind of new UI update, the increased server performance there. I guess they changed them to kind of higher tick, basically lower ping servers.
Yeah.
That's made a huge difference. I noticed that straight away. The difference in my kind of quality of play. I noticed myself getting basically not getting quick shot so easy. Like if someone popped around the corner, I felt like I actually had more time to respond and get them. And so my assumption there is that that was actually the server improvement, the server speed improvement. And so if they're continuing to make improvements on that, then that can be nothing but good news.
Yeah, because I know one of the biggest complaints with this game is the desync issue, and basically where if you're hiding behind, like Auryn said, if you're hiding behind a wall or something and an enemy peeks their head, that person that peeks their head has a peeker's advantage, and it's the desync. On their screen, they're going to see you, but on your screen, you're not going to see them, and it's only like half a second, but a lot of times that half a second makes all the difference in the world.
That's all the time in the world.
Yep,
yeah.
exactly.
Half a second, all someone needs to pull the trigger, and at that point, you don't have a chance to respond.
And so that's another thing. They say they lessen the discrepancy between the aim of the spectated player and the moving target being shot at. So I think that might just be a spectator thing, to where I know a lot of times, and you see it in comp play, because the observer is going to pop in on someone and watch from a first person perspective from them, and you'll see them miss all their shots, but all the bullets register. And you think like, well, that looked weird.
Yeah, that makes no sense. And you see it with like our highlights and all that kind of stuff. You jump in and it's like the guy, and then it's popping him in the head. It makes no sense. And so that's just that's really cool. Just again, it's a tiny little update, but makes a big difference to the quality of life for us producing events. We're going to be able to make events that are like our highlights and our live productions are just going to look that much more true to the game and true to what's actually happening.
And I think it's going to help with the replay mode, because the other day I was playing in one of the FirstBlood's mini events that they host on their app, and I died, went back to watch the replay, and this guy is proning in a bush. He let me get right next to him. He was being super sneaky, very well hidden, blended in perfectly. But I got within 2 steps of him, and I see he ends up killing me. I see on the replay his cursor was never on top of me, not once, but all of his bullets registered and killed me. And I knew it was just a replay bug, but some of those players that don't know that, they might think like, what the heck, how is he cheating, and they might go to report him or something. And so now on the replay, it's just going to be easier to see exactly where that player is in, just basically in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So on replays now, if you haven't updated the game client, or if it hasn't pushed the update to you yet, now is your last chance to watch your replays, because they're all going bye-bye. The new update, they've updated the whole replay system, and all of your old replays are now no longer usable, no longer viewable.
Yeah. Which is big for me, because I personally have a lot of replays saved, and I was like, oh, that was a great sniper shot. I need to save that clip, and so I can go back and watch it again and try to get like a little montage going. And so now I know I'm going to have to do that quicker than expected.
Yeah.
This is next update is another one of my favorites that they do. The sound in game, they decrease the volume of vehicle sounds for players inside vehicles in first person mode. And so before, if you're driving a vehicle, a lot of times I'd have to tell my teammates, be like, hey, I'm driving a buggy, I'm driving a UAS, I'm not going to be able to hear you or you'd have to mute your in-game sound to be able to hear teammates. And so now it's not as loud. It's not as daunting to get in that vehicle and drive across map and literally have to mute the game to be able to hear teammates.
Yeah, that's again just one of those little things that'll be a big quality of life improvement.
Yep. And so last but not least are the bug fixes, which again, a lot of these are in a long time coming. Like they 100% should have been fixed way earlier, but better late than never. And so they fixed an issue where destroying doors with grenades or Molotovs did not display debris. That one's not the biggest deal, but now you're going to see debris fly everywhere, and you're going to actually know if you destroyed it, whether or not. You know, and you wouldn't have to just base it off if is the door there. They fixed an issue where some free-falling characters appeared to be locked in default free-fall animation, which I think's nice because there's nothing worse than seeing. There's lots worse, but it's annoying. It's annoying to see.
There's a whole lot that is a lot worse than the free-fall animation not being right. But it is weird. I mean, you jump out of a plane and everyone's just static in this weird position.
Yep. Or you see them like running across the map and they're just like gliding rather than, you don't see them actually doing the run animation. They're just like free falling across the map.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fixed an issue where pausing in replay did not pause the sounds. That's interesting. I haven't ever ran into that one, but I could see where that would be annoying.
Yeah, that'd be annoying. I mean, again, I've watched a lot of replays and never had that, so it must have been a pretty obscure bug. Glad you're all over it.
But they fixed it, yeah. They fixed an issue where a frying pan and a firearm cannot be held at the same time. This one is big because this was a cheat, in my opinion. Basically, and now that they fixed it, I will explain the difference. I know how to do it, and I think it's the biggest cheat, and so I would never explain how to do it. But beforehand, if you dropped a weapon, switched to a frying pan, and then as you went to switch back to another weapon, pick that weapon up, the animation from, oh, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. You would drop the weapon, and then as you're switching the frying pan, pick up the weapon. You bring the frying pan off your back, and you pick up a gun, and so now you have your gun in your hand, and the frying pan is blocking your face. You can't get headshot. You can run, and I've seen it in comp, you have to intentionally do it. Sometimes I could see maybe it being a mistake. That's how I found out about it. I accidentally did it one time, and I was like, I accidentally did it. But it basically made it to where you could shoot other players, and you have a frying pan right in front of your face, and they can't shoot through your frying pan. So it took out headshots, which was.
How did it go for like your own visibility? Did you have a big ass frying pan there? Or
you would see just the gun. Yeah, in your visibility there is no frying pan, but yeah, and I personally, I'm not ever cheating with it. H-bomb, I clearly did it.
Someone hit the report button. No, don't actually hit the report button. That would be bad.
But yeah, basically, and I always knew how to do it, and I would not tell anyone because I didn't want it to spread, and I didn't want to see anyone else really doing it, but it was very annoying to see it. Now, granted, you can still shoot them in the butt, and the frying pan's not going to block their butt. Like, it's not, you don't have one in your face and one in your butt. But, yeah.
Butt shots don't do as much damage.
Exactly.
So, it's a pretty obvious trade-off.
Yeah, and it makes a big difference because I remember several times, like, seeing a player proned on top of a hill off in the distance, and he's got a K98, and the only part you can see of him is, like, a little bit of the shoulder, but a lot of the pan blocking everything. Yeah. And it's just, it was a big pain.
See, I didn't think about it from that point of view. Yeah, if you're prone on some high ground with a frying pan in front of your face, then that's going to block pretty much everything they can hit.
Yeah, it was very annoying.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's I'm glad they picked that one up. Again, it wasn't an issue that I was aware of, but now that I'm aware of it, I'm glad it doesn't exist anymore.
You didn't see it very often, which was nice. It was not one of the more popular bugs, like because I know there's several other ones in games still where. Basically, you're able to look through some walls, and I know I've seen it in comp. That's where I first learned about it. That team ended up getting disqualified from, and I'm sure you guys may or may not know who it was, but they ended up getting disqualified from a tournament, and they lost out on a lot of money because they ended up doing that cheat and got caught. It wasn't necessarily, they weren't downloading any outside apps to be able to do it, but they took advantage of an in-game bug, and it's not meant to be played that way.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you don't. We want to play the game within the kind of the confines of how it's meant to be played. And so if you're exploiting a bug, then if you're deliberately exploiting a bug, then
it takes away the integrity entirely.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not sporting. H-bomb, this is definitely going to be a regular thing. We've been trying to tee this up for the last few weeks, and every time we've tried to do it, we've run into some technical hiccup. The studio is now running flawlessly, as you can see. So we should be doing these anytime a patch note drops from here on out.
I mean, I'm having a great time, so I know I'll be back. As long as they bring me back.
A little, I guess. All right, last few bugs, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Let's see. They fixed an issue where the breath gauge did not appear in killer spectating death cam or replay, which is nice. It's not the biggest deal. It's not nearly as big as a pan blocking a face.
Nope.
But I know it was nice seeing in the death cam a lot of times someone coming straight out of the water and shooting me, and I was always wondering, like, was that guy close to drowning? Like, was he running out of breath, or did he just come up? Either way, not the biggest thing, but it's nice to have it fixed. They fixed an issue where spectating in first person showed inaccurate character location. So that's another thing, like we were talking about earlier, where, and I'm sure it probably goes into replays, but anytime you're spectating another player and you will see basically what he's shooting at, the player on his screen might not be where what you're seeing. The player he's shooting at might be a few feet back on your screen, and you're like, you're missing all your shots, but on his screen he's hitting every single one.
Yeah.
It's just another small thing that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and again, from a TO point of view and a content creator point of view, that makes a big difference for us. The more true the replays can be to how the game actually played out, then the better our productions are going to be. So I'm excited about that.
They fixed an issue where a player that had been disconnected and reconnected could voice chat with the player he/she is spectating through killer spectating. If his or her team was eliminated while the player was disconnected. Kind of confusing wording there, but basically what would happen is if you had disconnected and died and then reconnected, and you can killer spectate, and so you're watching your killer, but then you're able to talk to him and through in-game.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which was kind of funny when it happened because all of a sudden you have this random person talking, and like you're around no one, but you have this guy in your ear talking. If you had your voice chat turned off or to team only, you wouldn't hear him obviously. But if it was set to all, you'd have some random person talking, and it was funny.
I hadn't experienced that one, but I, to be honest, probably would have laughed really hard at it, because some of the stuff that people spit out when they kill you is hilarious. And if they can keep that trolling going, then I imagine there would have been some pretty hilarious stuff going on.
See, I'm glad they can't hear me whenever I die, because some of the stuff I say at home whenever I'm behind my own computer and no one else is around, if I die, it's embarrassing. And so I'm glad no one else gets to enjoy in my embarrassment.
How do we say this? Tapajahaki? I don't know. Whatever it is. Survival Sunday, $400 prize pool to the team that wins it.
Yes. That was a bug. Yes, it was. There we go. We're back. Yeah, so $400 to the winner of Survival Sunday, and yes, it was a bug.
And the other thing is that the top couple of teams, I'm not going to make any announcements on exactly how many, the top couple of teams also get an invite to the following Survival Sunday. We may be changing things up a little bit coming this weekend, so there'll be more information on that later.
Let's see. They fixed an issue where leaning was possible while in an animation. I personally, I'm not sure if you still did the emote, because I think it'd be funny if you're sitting around a corner and you do the wave emote and you lean and then you still do the wave emote. So all you see is the person lean around the corner and do the wave. But I think more likely what it was, and this is interesting, I did not know this was a glitch, but if you're in first person, to peek around a corner, you have to offer up your body, and that's what a lot of comp players like about the first person mode. It's not, third person where you can just see. But with this bug, I'm assuming it was if you did an emote where, like, you did the death one or just the point where you don't do very much hand animation, and then you lean around the corner, you're still stuck doing that emote on the other person's screen
Right.
But on your screen, you're peeking around the corner, and you're not offering up your body. The enemy's not going to be able to see you. And so I'm assuming that's what it was. It's good to know that they are on top of fixing that.
Yeah, if that's what that was, then that's a huge bug.
Huge, yeah.
And a big compromise to the competitive scene. So, yeah, again, kudos to the team at PUBG if that is actually what the bug was, and if they've been that on top of getting it fixed.
Yeah, this one is another huge one in my opinion. This was a big bug all like from the start of the game. They fixed an issue where two players moving in a small space could sometimes get stuck. This would happen on staircases and like if you're climbing over boxes or anything like that. Basically, if two players got too close to each other in a tight spot, they would get stuck. And I can't tell you how many times running through doorways even. If they, you know, it's the classic thing where you run into a doorway and you both get your shoulders stuck in there and you can't move.
I've never experienced it.
It would ruin games. You would end up having to down. Sometimes you were able to crouch or prone your way out of it, but a lot of times you would end up having to down your teammate to be able to move out. And so, I mean, you're going to be able to res them and save them still, but they're down one time. The next time they go down, they're going to bleed quicker, which was just a big pain in the butt. But that's really nice. So I'm wondering how the animation is going to be. Maybe it just doesn't let you get stuck as easily, or it's just not going to let you pass through at all. But as long as you're not getting stuck, that's big.
H-Bomb just said in chat there that it happened to eSpire a couple of weeks ago. They had to sacrifice someone for the greater good. So evidently it's something that's happening on a regular enough basis.
It does.
To be an issue.
Like I said, it's a huge update, and it's one that was a long time coming.
Beautiful. Last one.
They fixed an issue where the reporting screen message in spectator mode was displayed in English only. So I don't think that's as big as a deal for some of us in the NA area, but I do know if you're playing, I'm not sure if maybe it was for the Korean client as well or the Chinese client, but that would be really annoying if they didn't have that in your
local language. Especially if they localized the rest of the app, and then just that part was localized, was not localized. So I can see that being an issue. Again, not as big of an improvement as pretty much everything else on the list, but it's definitely an improvement.
Wow, he had to actually fully kill Pippin. I know sometimes, and whenever I encountered it, we were able to just down the player and get out. But to have to fully kill someone, that is just beyond annoying. Yeah. But Pippin is a worthy sacrifice, says Snooze. So there we go.
All right, guys, that's it for the patch notes. If anyone has any other questions, go ahead and shoot them off now, and we'll try and answer them. Like we said earlier, this is going to be a regular segment. Anytime PUBG releases some patch notes, we're going to try and sit down here and chat through them. We'll have more than likely Shane in. We'll probably have Ben. He's better known as a little fuzzy seal. We'll have him in quite often as well. Andy, who was running the computer for us today, he has a great knowledge of the game. So we're even going to try and entice him to get on screen here at some point. Although we may just get him on comms while he's running around showing us off the fancy new features of the game. I'm going to use this opportunity really quickly to announce the winner of our giveaway for this month. It's up on the website already, so if you've taken the opportunity to have a look on the giveaways page, you would have seen it. But for anyone that wasn't aware, this week we gave away a Zotac GeForce GTX 1080 Ti AMP edition. Incredible graphics card. These things absolutely just scream. If you're worried about FPS issues, Charity, this is the graphics card you want to be looking at. And so yeah, we gave away one of those in our bounty hunts this week. This month. You could earn gold tickets through the bounty hunt and then throw those gold tickets into the giveaway. And so without further ado, our winner for the Zotac GeForce GTX 1080 Ti AMP edition is, drumroll, King Hate. So King Hate picked up that graphics card. Buddy, if you are here watching, we're going to get that thing shipped out to you ASAP. We'll be in touch. Everyone who didn't win, commiserations. Better luck next month. We've got another 1080 Ti up for next month. This time we've gone with the EVGA GTX 1080 Ti graphics card. EVGA, another great producer of graphics cards. Really excited to see who picks that one up. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, head over to our Discord server. There should be a link in the Twitch panels below the stream. And if you're watching this on YouTube later, we'll make sure we drop a link to our Discord server there. You can find all of the app download links and all that good stuff in our Discord server. Come, jump in, join the fun, earn some giveaway tickets, win some prizes, and just generally, have a good time. For anyone that hasn't tried out the app yet, it's there, it's available, and it really adds an extra element to your competitive play, also to your pub play.
Yeah, I personally have not played nearly as many solo games or just pub games in general as I have recently since I've started using the app. Just having that extra incentive to play really makes the game more fun for me, and that's why I like the comp scene, is because it's just more competitive and there's stuff on the line. And so basically this, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you guys do daily giveaways and weekly, so it's not, you don't just only have the chance to win the 1080 Ti once a month, but you can win, I think it was like a keyboard I saw, and then a Steam gift card.
Right, yeah. So every day we're giving away Steam gift cards. Once a week we're giving away a peripheral, so it'll be something like a keyboard, a mouse, a headset, something like that, and then monthly we're giving away something big, so it'll be a graphics card. We may even get into doing some full builds, full PC builds, something like that. So yeah, over the next couple of months we'll have some pretty interesting prizes up and running. And then on top of that, you can actually qualify into some of our other tournaments. So our Survival Sunday tournament, there's qualifiers going on pretty much all day, every day this week. We're going to have to rerun some of the ones from today because there was a bit of an issue. So our qualifiers run, which can get you through to our Survival Sunday. There's a $400 prize pool on that. And then in the next couple of months, we're going to be running another one of our PUBG Invitationals, and those are a much larger scale tournament. We are going to have a pathway from our app through to the Invitational. And so if you want a chance to potentially play against some of the top teams in North America, and also play off for a really, really nice prize pool. Our last Invitational, we had a $10,000 prize pool. Then that pathway through our app is going to be a really interesting way for you to potentially get that opportunity.
And you can also qualify for the FirstBlood Survival Sunday events too, so not just the Invitationals, but if you wanted to play in the Survival Sundays, that's how you would go about joining that.
Okay, and I've just got a report in from Andy. Apparently all today's qualifiers ran just fine, so we won't be replaying those. Fantastic. But we do have more qualifiers on today. I think there's one starting up very soon, and there's one later on in the evening, as well as a few more tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, all leading up to Sunday. So if you want an opportunity to come and compete in Survival Sunday, compete for that $400 prize pool and play against some of the really, really high quality teams that are competing in Survival Sunday every week, now's your opportunity. Jump into our Discord, go download the app, and get after it.
Yeah. Are the giveaways shipped internationally? What's his name? Dragon Blade. It's a awkward color, hard to see.
If you win the giveaway, we will do our best effort to make sure that giveaway gets to you. And so if it's something that for whatever reason we can't ship to you, then we'll talk to you directly and we'll figure out a reasonable compromise. But for the most part, we have no issues getting giveaways to pretty much anywhere. Cool. All right, guys. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, this is going to be a regular thing. So if you see patch notes pop up on Steam or pop up on the PUBG website, keep an eye out on the stream here, because we will be going live within a few hours. Well, actually, probably not, because they usually release those patch notes at like 3 a.m. So
we will be camping out all night, ready to run them. We'll see you at 4 a.m. every week.
That is not going to happen. We will see you at a reasonable time of day after the patch notes are released. We'll have a good chat. We'll talk some shit. We'll have some fun. And who knows, maybe we'll throw in some other segments too.
Cool.
Anyway, appreciate everyone stopping by. Again, if you haven't yet, join the Discord server. Come by, play some bounty hunts, try and win some prizes. I'm Auryn. This is Shane. Thanks very much for stopping by. Really appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next time there's some patch notes.
Have a good one, guys.